But first tonight, the day in federal politics where the focus has been on economic matters. The government's pledge to deliver a modest surplus next financial year looks shaky as the economy slows and the world shudders at the possibility of a meltdown in Europe. And an internal brawl's erupted in the coalition over its backflip on lifting the superannuation levy from 9 to 12%. It could be that the one political party without major worries at the moment is the Greens. As political editor Chris Ullman reports, that party had a lot to celebrate when its annual conference convened in the West on the weekend.
An ancient welcome for Australia's youngest political force. The Greens came to Fremantle on the weekend for the party's annual conference near the end of a stellar year.
The Greens is fantastic in that it's a grassroots party. It operates by consensus, people working collaboratively, and so the conference is so important for bringing together the views of all the members from around the country.
There's much to discuss. High on the list of achievements is a carbon price which will clear the Senate tomorrow.
It's a complete package, whether it's renewable energy, carbon farming, energy efficiencies. So the pricing mechanism is just a part of that overall package.
Among the many things being questioned is an alliance that John Curtin built.
I think that America's foreign policy is causing a lot of problems around the world, and I think that there's a way of having a relationship with America that is more sensibly critical than the relationship that we have at the moment.
It's just fantastic.
No matter what the topic, the Greens are unquestionably setting a big part of the national agenda.
Absolutely. I think the last 12 months of Australian politics is a testament to that, with issues that are being dominated and talked about are Greens issues, core Greens issues like climate change, asylum seekers.
Incumbent upon us as Australia.
Opening proceedings, Greens leader Bob Brown said the success was built on 4 pillars.
Of ecological wisdom, economic common sense, which means social justice, peace and democracy.
But if you want to know what was discussed beyond opening statements, we can't tell you, because the Greens are the only mainstream political party that doesn't open its annual conference to the media.
We had this morning an agreement by the participants at this meeting that the meeting should be open this morning, but further deliberation shouldn't. That's a very clear case of me as leader of this party being outvoted.
When pressed, the question isn't apparently what other political parties do.
Is the boardroom of the ABC open to televisions and to microphones? Is the boardroom of the News Limited open? The answer is no.
Bob Brown also looks to Rupert Murdoch's example in planning his retirement.
My icon, Rupert Murdoch, at 80, he's still in charge. I'll be 80 in 2024, and at that stage I'll see what Rupert did back in 2012 and take it on from there and determine what's next to be done about it.
In Canberra today, the Treasurer was trying to determine what a slowing domestic economy and an uncertain world might do to a promised budget surplus that's 18 months over the horizon.
Australian growth of 3 or 3.5 or 3.25% is still very healthy growth in global terms. But lower growth does mean lower budget revenues, and it certainly does make it tougher to get back to surplus as planned, but we are determined to do so.
One highly regarded commentator says the chances of hitting the target have receded.
The economy's weakened off a bit. Job growth not as good, profits steadying, share markets, housing prices, things down a bit. That's been enough to turn what was always a forecast of a small surplus into what we see as a small deficit. About $2 billion in deficit.
I think it's important that the government get us back to surplus. I doubt very much that this government has the ticker to do so.
The compelling reason for delivering a surplus is more political than economic, because the government has staked its financial credibility on it. But the Treasurer doesn't yet look like a man who believes he's about to miss the mark.
We are determined to come back to surplus in 2012-13.
And the opposition has more than a few numbers problems of its own. It's against the government's mining tax and has consistently said it will rescind it if elected. That would mean getting rid of the benefits it helps to fund, like the move to increase superannuation from 9 to 12%. Now it's made a big backflip.
We don't initiate these superannuation changes, but once they're in place, we don't roll them back. Over the forward estimates, there is a $740 million cost to the government, and we will find that expense from savings in the budget.
The Coalition is planning massive cuts to spending. Depending on who you talk to, it already has to find $70 billion in savings. Now another $740 million's been added to that bill. It's also sparked an internal policy brawl, with one member describing this move as stupid.
Every day we see their $70 billion budget crater get bigger and their economic credibility shrink. Clearly now that Mr Abbott, Mr Hockey and Mr Robb have again shown that they are the three stooges of economic policy.
The decision to change policy without any consultation has incensed some Liberal MPs who see increasing superannuation as an impost on business. And it's exposed the limits of Tony Abbott's strategy of trying to ensure that everyone wins under a future coalition government. Another leader once tried that. His name was Kevin Rudd. It ended in tears. The political runes might just be turning Labor's way.